I'm in a quiet residential back street in St Albans. Rather a nice collection of houses here. But these houses were built on a former railway line. And if you turn the camera around and look at the view from the front, you can actually make out the old railway line. And the old railway station as well, which is now used as a school. This is London Road Station, and it opened on 16th of October 1865, and it closed on the 1st of October 1961. And this is part of the former St Albans to Hatfield railway line, and it's 6 miles long. And it was when it was a railway line. First main line crossed Hertfordshire around 1850. And by 1877, there were 8 branch lines connecting smaller towns together. But it all came to an end in the cuts made by Dr. Beeching in the 1960s. And looking back at the school, it really is quite nice. You can make out the platform there, and just imagine the old steam trains that once came through here. And today this former railway line is a nice little walkway, and used by cyclists as well. But it's rather nice. It's overgrown now. Plenty of birds in the trees singing. And the old Hatfield Bridge as well. Just imagine trains running through here back in the turn of the century. Really, it's quite nice actually looking up at the bridge. Quite a nice bridge. Let's head on a little further, and so we can discover here in St Albans. And throughout this series, we'll come across some execution sites, some filming locations, the only Englishman to become Pope, Britain's oldest pub, and a lot more besides as well. So let's see what we can find here in St Albans. That's very pleasant, just walking along the old railway line. I think they call it the Alban Way. Very, very nice. I do like walking around old railway lines. They take on a totally different character now that they have a change of use. There are a few people in St Albans, well, actually there are a few people who are famous people who have a connection to St Albans. Nicholas Bacon, he was Lord Keeper of the Great Seal under Queen Elizabeth I. Not a seal you see in the zoo, but the official seal used to sign documents. And he lived here as well. He lived in St Albans along with his son, Francis Bacon, who was a philosopher, scientist and statesman. He died in 1626. John Bull, the Lollard priest, well, he was executed here. And we'll talk a little bit more about him as we go through this video. Thomas Wells, now he was Queen Victoria's surgeon, and he was born here on the 3rd of February 1818. And Samuel Ryder, well, he was a seed merchant and keen golfer, and I'll talk more about him in my next video. But just up ahead is a building connected to another famous person. This is a particularly fine building. It's the former gatehouse and originally the governor's residence of the old Victorian prison that once stood on this location. Today it's part of St Albans Registry office. was also once used as a hospital as well. But the building has a famous connection to Ronnie Barker, because this building was used in the opening titles to the comedy series Porridge, which was broadcast from 1974 until 1977, and there were 3 series and 21 episodes. And this doubled up as Slade Prison. Really rather nice to see it. I've always wanted to know, always wondered where that was filmed. When I discovered it was in St Albans, I thought, well, I had to come here. It is one of my favourite comedy programmes. It's absolutely brilliant. You can just imagine Ronnie Barker saying those immortal words at the beginning of the show. Norman Stanley Fletcher, you've been sentenced to 5 years imprisonment, whatever the words were. See, brilliant. And outside is a cannon. Quite a splendid model. I believe it dates from the 1840s, but I'm not too up on my artillery, so I'm not sure. But I did read up on the cannon, and it said 1840s. So there we go. Our first film connection of many here in St Albans, and a fine cannon outside Slade Prison, or the Registry office. Absolutely brilliant. So let's walk into the town centre and find another film location. Little walk up from the Registry office. It's quite nice here on a sunny day. I reckon the temperature's going to be about 28 degrees today. Perhaps summer's finally here. But just at the top here is these fantastic almshouses, and they date from 1734 to 1736. And they were built by Sarah Churchill, Duchess of Marlborough, and she was mistress of the robes to Queen Anne. Her ancestral home was Blenheim Palace. Really lovely to look at those almshouses, and there's a blue plaque as well. There we go, Sarah Churchill, 1660 to 1744. Courtier, politician, and local landowner built those almshouses. Absolutely lovely. Do like looking at almshouses. They're all, wherever you go around the country, they're all individual. They've all got their own characteristics, and these ones are set in such beautiful grounds as well. Really nice to see it. And looking across is the Viadara Indian restaurant. It's the former Liberal Club. You can just make out the date of 1889 in white on the front. But it's not the sign that's interesting, it's what's written on the side of the building. There's this wonderful mural by Tom Cruise, who really enjoyed the lobster curry. I don't like lobster. I don't eat seafood. I like my chicken curries. But what a great advertisement for an Indian restaurant. Great way to leave a review by sticking it on the side of their building. Absolutely lovely. Yeah, St Albans seems to be full of surprises today. Wasn't expecting to see that. Very nice indeed. But there's another pub just at the top of the road. And this is the old Blacksmiths Arms. It's been a pub here since 1797. But what's interesting is the little blue plaque on the front. All 5 original members of the Zombies, the 1960s rock group, first met here. They had a hit in 1964 with She's Not There. One of my favourite songs from the 60s. And this is where it all began, outside the Blacksmiths Arms, well, inside the Blacksmiths Arms. Absolutely brilliant. It's a really busy road junction. My goodness me, so much activity. I don't think St Albans was designed to take that much road traffic. Very noisy indeed. But just up the top here is St Peter's Church. So many church cemeteries over the years, and this is probably the most beautiful of them all. Very, very large, extensive grounds, and it's places here which are at one with nature as well. They've allowed nature to grow, and I do like to see that and encourage local wildlife. The area just behind me on my left is the burial ground for those who died during the Wars of the Roses. This was an English civil war fought by the houses of York and Lancaster for control of the English throne. Interesting to see that. But what is interesting is one of the monuments on the inside of the church, which relates to a burial in there, and that was to a man called Edward Strong, and he was one of the principal masons who built St Paul's Cathedral in London. He worked closely with Sir Christopher Wren and oversaw the laying of the stones to build one of the finest cathedrals that we have here in England. It is an absolutely beautiful cathedral, and he's buried here inside the church. The church was founded around the year 948 AD, along with two other churches here in St Albans, St Michael's and St Stephen's, and they were founded by the abbot Ulcinus. Now this church is St Peter's, and it was rebuilt around 1803 and again in 1893. And last year underwent significant renovation on the inside, and that work was completed in May of 2024. But it's just so peaceful here. People are out walking their dogs, walking around the cemetery, and it's just lovely to walk around. And this is also another filming location here in St Albans. If you're a fan of EastEnders, back in 1997, this was the location for Ricky and Bianca's wedding, fictional wedding that took place in that television show. And they filmed it here. What a great location for a wedding, for any wedding, to be honest, because it's so quiet and peaceful in these beautiful surroundings. But let's head down now to the High Street and find a site of execution. Walk down from St Peter's Church to the old market square. It's very busy around here, lots of people going about their business, and lots of traffic as well. Must have been quite nice a few hundred years ago. Well, there are just a few horse-drawn carts here without the traffic noise. But on a day like today, it's really pleasant just to walk around and look at the history and the architecture that St Albans has to offer. Just ahead of me is the old courthouse. It was completed in 1826 and was designed by a man called George Smith. It replaced an earlier moot hall that stood on this site since around 1570. Today it's St Albans Museum, Gallery, and the courtroom no longer functions as a court. That stopped being a court back in 1992. But you can still go into the courtroom and see where it all happened, and go down into the cells, which are now the toilets. Rather strange to sit there and then walk up the steps into the dock, as so many people did in the last since it was built. Interesting to walk in their footsteps, and there's quite a lot on display inside the museum as well. It's quite a nice little museum. But the courtroom has seen some activity in its time. But out of all the hearings that have taken place within the courtroom, there was one by the Bribery Commission back in 1851, and that was to investigate the cash for votes scandal. Local Whig Party candidate, the MP, Jacob Bell, bribed 308 voters at £5 each, which is around £1,540 in 2024 values. He was found guilty and lost his parliamentary seat, and his seat wasn't reclaimed again until 1885, when a much larger constituency was established. But what is interesting is the blue plaque on the front of the building. John Ball, 1338 to 1381, priest and leader of the present Peasants' Revolt, was tried on this site in the presence of King Richard II before his execution. And he met one of the worst punishments that history could mete out. He was hung, drawn and quartered here on the 5th of July, 1381. Some reports say that he was a man from York, and others say he came from Peldon, near Colchester. I was always brought up to believe that he was a man from York, but living in Essex for a while, there was so much made of him in Colchester about him being born in Peldon. Was it this John Ball, or somebody with the same name born at the same time? Interesting. But this is where he lost his life. Yeah, I like St Albans. The history here is absolutely fantastic. It really is. But let's head on a little further and down to a tower, which is down the bottom here of the old Market Street. There's been a market in St Albans since 1553. It's back in the reign of Edward VI. This is also a film location as well. Film The In-Betweeners was shot here. St Albans doubling up for Swanage, where the film was set. It's amazing what they film and where. But what's interesting, just on the left here is Lamb Alley, a lovely old Tudor building as well. That's nice. Around the corner is Pudding Lane. Perhaps that's a reference to the market that used to be here, the livestock they used to sell here, and puddings as well. I do like a nice pudding. A bit of roast lamb. It's nice down here. You can imagine what this might have been like perhaps back in medieval times. Layouts of the shops, the market area, the little alleyways, Really rather lovely. The architecture around here is just superb. I've been to St Albans a few times. I used to live not too far away. But I've always come to St Albans for other reasons rather than to enjoy the architecture and some of the sights. It's the first time I've really had a chance to walk around and actually enjoy St Albans. Absolutely lovely. Last time I came here, I went to the cathedral and the Roman remains, Verulamium, and we'll see that a little later on in the coming videos. But it's just a shame that the clock tower here is covered in scaffolding. Such a shame, because the clock tower dates from 1405, 64 feet tall or 19.5 metres, and was restored in 1966 by George Gilbert Scott. And there's a rather interesting little brown plaque on the wall. Near this site stood the Eleanor Cross, where the body of Queen Eleanor rested one night on its progress to Westminster on the 30th of December in the year 1290. There were 12 Eleanor crosses in total, which were unveiled on the 28th of November in 1291. And I say these commemorated the journey of Queen Eleanor of Castile. She was the wife of Edward I of England, and to express his love for his wife, he erected these crosses in every location that the coffin rested on the way down from Lincoln to Westminster. I suppose the most famous is Charing Cross in London, although the original cross that was built just hasn't survived. It was rebuilt in 1865 in a slightly different location to where it is now. But that's probably the most famous one. But it's nice to come to another historic location. So let's walk on a little further, and in the next video we'll come across St Albans Cathedral and the first Englishman, or the only Englishman, to become Pope. So that's coming up in the next video here from St Albans. So thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ding the bell for notifications for when the second video is uploaded. And we'll see you in part 2.